Hello everyone, I'm Councillor Martyn Alvey, Cabinet Member for Environment and Climate Change. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today. I'm going to give you an overview of the Carbon Neutral Cornwall programme and how Cornwall Council and our partners and other organisations are responding to the climate emergency. My presentation covers the work that is underway for Cornwall to become carbon neutral and is focused on the climate emergency. Although we do acknowledge and recognise that we are also in an ecological emergency and are also tackling this challenge. I'd like to give you an overview, or if you're already familiar with the Carbon Neutral Cornwall programme, an update on the programme and the progress that's being made. I'll be talking about how the Carbon Neutral Cornwall programme is creating the conditions for green recovery. Progress that is being made since Cornwall Council declared a climate emergency in January 2019, how the Council is leading the way with businesses, partners and communities and is at the forefront of many innovations responding to the climate challenge, and how everyone can help to achieve the ambitions of Cornwall becoming carbon neutral. The climate emergency is the defining challenge of our time. We are at a turning point, especially here in Cornwall, where recent extreme weather events remind us that the impacts of climate change are only too real. As our dependence and connection to the wider planet becomes clearer, so too does the role that Cornwall can play in this challenge on both a local and global scale. Our rural geography brings with it many challenges, but it offers great opportunities, and I'll be talking about some of those later. We've made a great start with the Council's declaration and the commitment of resources to take forward an action plan, which, by the way, is being recognised as leading the way within local government, both nationally and internationally. Alongside the government's announcement at the G7 summit that they are backing a major drive to restore Cornwall's natural environment and make Cornwall the first net zero region of the UK, they have also committed to a package of funding in addition to the town deals. And that will boost the network of local footpaths and cycle routes and the regeneration of 21,000 hectares with new trees, restoring peat, improving water quality and recreating habitats to safeguard biodiversity for our future generations. This will position us in the forefront of the UK's focus in building back better and will possibly be the biggest G7 legacy that could be bestowed upon Cornwall. As the Council's new Cabinet Member for Environment and Climate Change, I am proud that I originally seconded the motion to declare a climate emergency. I've asked for a green thread to be woven through all of our own activities and in delivering on the commitment for Cornwall to become the UK's first net zero region. And given the importance of the declaration of the climate emergency, in shaping the carbon neutral programme and setting up the governance for the climate change action plan, the Council's Chief Executive, Kate Cllr, felt this was a project that she should directly be involved in because it affects every aspect of the Council and how we work with our partners. And Kate chairs our Carbon Neutral Cornwall Programme Board. That is so important to helping us play our part in protecting the planet and building resilience, and acting on climate change can have multiple benefits, not just around reducing carbon emissions. Of course, any action we take should reduce carbon emissions as well as improve other aspects of our life through our environment, such as air quality, and within our society, such as alleviating poverty through the creation of high quality jobs and reducing people's fuel bills. So, we have acknowledged the need to consider social justice at the heart of what we're doing to ensure Cornwall's residents are not worse off when we're developing our response to the climate emergency. We refer to this as being a just transition, and that means that reducing our carbon footprint can't be something that only people on higher incomes can afford to do. It should be something that everyone can participate in, and that the additional costs associated with the transition shouldn't be borne by those that are less able to pay. So, we are hopefully leaving COVID behind us and heading towards recovery and a new normal. We need to make sure that everything we do is connected through that green thread to help us to deliver our carbon neutral ambitions and create a green, sustainable future for everyone. In order to make sure that climate change is integral to our wider work, we've developed a holistic approach to decision making, which means that we're trying to make sure that every decision we make will take into account those social, economic and environmental impacts of our decisions. And we've developed a decision-making wheel to help us do that based on Kate Raworth's economic donut. We've developed a programme that is about leading by example, making sure that Cornwall Council plays its part in the race to net zero. And we want to make sure that we use our place leadership responsibilities working with other partners to help them reduce their own emissions. Most of Cornwall's carbon emissions come from four main areas: transport and how we drive around, commercial and industrial buildings, our homes and agriculture. In declaring a climate emergency, we set our targets for Cornwall to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030. But what does carbon neutral mean and what will it look like? We will consume less, repurpose more and repair more of our equipment and products. The electricity we use will come from clean production technologies. The vehicles we use to drive about will run on electric or biomethane energy or other green fuels, meaning road vehicles will run on near net zero emissions. Our homes will be more efficient, cheaper to run and better to live in, and agriculture will use less fertiliser, reduce emissions and capture methane. To set out how we can help Cornwall to reach carbon neutrality or net zero carbon, we built our action plan around three pillars. An operational programme focusing on getting our own house in order, leading by example and sharing good practice, and the area we can facilitate as an enabler or partner through funding, policy, partnership working, and where we can build on strong track record of delivering work with government to secure additional powers and funding and new legislation to respond to the climate emergency. So our programme of work is focused on areas we can enable, areas that we can influence, and areas that we directly control. We also focused around three single significant challenges of our time: the ecological emergency, the climate emergency, and environmental adaptation. As well as facing many challenges here in Cornwall, we've also got lots of opportunities to provide solutions that will enable us to accelerate towards net zero. We've developed a number of flagship projects in Cornwall, including the Forest for Cornwall, 8,000 hectares of new trees, woodland, copses and marine grasses to sequester or capture carbon from the atmosphere. Our social housing refit programme, which is installing solar panels on 660 council-owned homes to reduce the costs of their energy bills. A climate emergency development planning document, which will be influencing how future development takes place in Cornwall. And we've installed a new smart grid connected wind turbine on the A30 at Venton T, and we will be installing more EV charging points across Cornwall as well. to complement our existing network that needs to expand to support the growing number of electric vehicles. If we are going to achieve our ambition, we all have to work collaboratively, bringing the efforts of our local action groups, town and parish councils, businesses and other sector partners together. Cornwall is in a good position on that front because we have such a strong partnership that work together and can and will deliver the solutions for Cornwall. We know the ecological emergency is as important as the climate emergency, and how we make our communities more resilient and help them to adapt to the changing climate will also rely on us working together in partnership. We are supporting collaborative working and sharing knowledge and experience through the Carbon Neutral Cornwall Hive, which is an online platform where everyone can share information, resources, ideas and inspiration. Visit the Carbon Neutral Cornwall Hive to explore the ideas board, guest blog and other areas including the Cornwall climate commitments, how together we can make a difference to climate change. Many of Cornwall's communities are taking action to reduce their carbon impact. We are providing funding and grants to support communities and businesses with their own climate action. The 2021-22 Communities Infrastructure Levy Fund is supporting green and low carbon projects in communities across Cornwall. Our three Cornwall Climate Emergency Funds are helping to support action planning, tree planting and other carbon sequestration projects and low carbon initiatives. Our Back to the Future Cornwall Climate Challenge Fund is kickstarting 10 great green projects that are responding to the climate emergency. And the Love Where You Are Fund, our partnership scheme with Crowdfunder, is a public donation fund for people who love Cornwall, whether you live here, have a Cornish business here, or are one of our many visitors. Cornwall has always been innovative and led the way in so many different ways. We are working in partnership with innovative organisations and businesses in Cornwall on leading edge technology and solutions. For example, the Benelman Biogas project that is capturing methane on 6 of our own council-owned farms in covered slurry pits and using their new technology to turn methane into biofuel. The biomethane fuel is being trialled in farm vehicles and some of the Cormac road maintenance vehicles. We believe this is a first of its kind, and because some of our vehicles are more difficult to transition to electrics, will hopefully lead to a transition of our own vehicle fleet. And beyond the council, we hope the trial will ultimately help to transform farming and transport, not just in Cornwall, but in the rest of the UK and even the world. We are also investing with partners in 2 geothermal projects in Cornwall, in our own trial at United Downs and in the Eden Project site. And we are investing in floating offshore wind energy through the Southwest Flow project. There are lots of other inspiring local responses to the climate emergency from businesses, local councils and community action groups like yours doing so many wonderful things. Thanks for listening. I hope that has been useful. There is more information on the Carbon Neutral Cornwall website and the Carbon Neutral Cornwall Hive. Thank you for everything you are doing to respond to the climate emergency and the ecological emergency.